Welcome to today's bonus lesson on global identity. Today we're going to be looking at how three ideas, globalisation, nationalism, and finally global citizenship, combine. So that's to say how they have a relationship, because these things together may form what we think of as identity, which is to say the question, who am I?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
For today we're going to be looking at global identity. So not just what's within us, but the way that the world forms our identity and different components of us, different cultures make up who we are today. Globalisation is what Cal talked to you about in the lecture, and that's the idea that until a few hundred years ago we lived as tribes people wandering the earth without any fixed borders. And then when we developed countries, the countries have, in the last 100 years or so, become increasingly interlinked so that the air travel and the communication that happens across borders helps to create more trade, more interconnectedness between different people and different countries. And that simply is globalization. Nationalism is still something that remains, and it's something that we connect with things like fascism, that is, terrible things that have happened to humanity in history. But actually, nationalism could just be as simple as taking a pride in your country, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And then we have the idea of global citizenship. And global citizenship is simply the idea that instead of nationalism, that we identify with our countries, we actually identify as the world as a bigger, greater culture than that of our country, the countries that we identify with. But this week your assessment focuses on the idea of global citizenship. So put away, if you're worried about globalization and you're worried about how these ideas relate, then all you really need to focus on is explaining this idea. Note the wording in the question. It's really important when you look at a question to see what it's asking you to do. And in this case, really, to do this simply, you only need to explain this idea. So firstly, I'm going to show you an easy way to complete this assignment. So if you're looking to just pass, and after that, we'll be looking at a more difficult way in which you might access some of the higher grades. So, how to pass? And what better place to start than Google? Really, for foundation year, it's quite alright to just Google an idea to get a response to a question. So if you look at the internet, there are many different sites that help to explain this. This site itself, globalcitizen.org, is really the central organisation that helps to promote ideas of global citizenship abroad. So as you can see, with the actions here, you can see already that they're interested in certain types of interest, mostly the promotion of human rights, of environmental interests and education, so on and so forth. And that's just trying to connect these interests up over the globe. So that it's not just countries that focus on these ideas, but people across countries, that is taken seriously at an organisational level. To help us think a little bit more about the idea of global citizenship, let's think about a case. This is Paulo. Now, Paulo was born in Brazil and spent the first few years of his life there, and his parents are Brazilian. But he moved to Portugal and was educated in Portugal. Because of this, Paulo has a strong interest in Brazil. He likes Brazilian food, he supports the Brazilian football team, but he also thinks of himself as Portuguese. All of his friends are Portuguese, and he was schooled in a Portuguese school. Now, because of that, Paulo also has a Portuguese passport as well as a Brazilian passport. So the passport, the rights that he has are in Portugal. He has Portuguese human rights protecting him, European law, and also a passport that allows him to travel freely in the European Union. More than that though, Paolo thinks of himself as being a global citizen. So, although he doesn't have a passport with global citizen on it, Paolo believes that he should be free to travel through any country that he likes, but also that instead of organisations like the European Union or governments such as Brazilian government or Portuguese government, that all nations should be governed by one organisation. But global citizenship isn't just some hippie idea from the 60s about everyone getting along together and peace and love, etc. It's actually a serious political idea too, and there have been some very famous proponents of it. I googled famous global citizens, and as you can see, Obama, George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Malala and Oprah have come up as top searches. Anyway, you're probably wondering, how do I pass this assignment? So, first thing I recommend is open up a copy of Word and write the title. Explain the idea of global citizenship. Now, the best way and the easiest way to complete this assignment without getting any problems with similarity or copying other people's work is simply just to go through the Canvas resources. So, if you go to Contemporary Themes, and then you go to Module Materials, what you're looking for is the slides on this subject. So scrolling down to week 2 and the seminar and workshop, and you're going to open up these global identity slides. And if you download them onto a laptop or a PC, then what you can do, just wait for this to happen, is you can use the resources that we've provided links for. Now, on this slide, we've provided a link to a definition of global citizenship. So I'm just copying that link and pasting it into Google. And when you've opened this up, you'll find a very short definition on global citizenship. And this can provide a lot of your ideas and inspiration for what you're about to write. So to help this, I'm just copying the text now, and I'm going to paste it into my Word document. Now you can't just paste this and submit it. What you need to do is change it, and I'm sure you'll be learning how to do this in study and research skills. Because I've taken this, there's also a reference that's already been created, which you should know, is a correct reference. So I've just posted that into the document too, and I'm going to use that in a sec. But really, what I'm doing, having read this article, is I'm now going to use the ideas in this to create my own definition, if you like, of global citizenship. You should have also done this in the seminar and workshop. So really, using this text, as you can see, I'm taking the main ideas and turning those into my own words. Now you can't copy the words that I'm using, you have to find your own. And once you've written something that's been influenced by the document, you can create a citation. As you can see, I copied the reference that I took from the slides, and now I'm copying the first part of the reference, and this is what I'll use to create a citation. I'm just going to paste it in now, and then I just need to change the formatting slightly. So I've created the bracket at the beginning, I've put a comma after the name, and so it's a bracket, name, comma, year, and now I'm just going to change the font so it's all the same font, Arial, and it's all the same size, 11. And once I've done that, just put that in bold because it makes that look a little bit nicer, and I'm just going to title the references by putting those in bold. And then that's it. You then need to write another 250 words, which you can use that document to help you influence, or you can start to put your own ideas in at this level, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure it's your words, and there only needs to be 250 of them. So that's what you need to do to pass, but if you're looking to score higher grades, then I suggest you watch the next section. Please don't watch this next section though if you're worried or you're slightly confused. It really is just if you want to do a little bit better. So if you want to develop the ideas in this assignment, I recommend that you go back to Canvas and have another look at the article we studied in the seminar and workshop this week. If you go to Module Materials, you can download a copy of the workbook, so the booklets that you have. There is an online version of those. So I'm gone to Module Materials in Contemporary Themes, and I'm just going to scroll down and find the resources. And you can see here the CT study booklet, so I'm going to click on that and then download that CT study booklet. Once that's downloaded, the simplest way to navigate is just to click on the title of the chapter, and that brings you to that week. And I'm just going down to look for the article by Butcher that you would have been reading in classes. Now this article introduces some unusual ideas. I think they're quite interesting anyway. And those are that whilst global citizenship is an important social idea, it doesn't actually contain any political value in terms of human rights, and that we actually need to be careful, because if we move our political loyalty over to an idea such as global citizenship, it may be that we lose power in the political arena, which is national by nature. We belong to societies that are nations that are governed by democracy. So as global citizens, we're not protected by the same rights as we are as citizens of nations, and we don't have the opportunity to vote and have the same kind of say in the political system. So whilst it's a good idea, we just have to exercise caution. We have to be careful when we put too much of our power in an idea. As you can see, I'm highlighting on the screen certain passages that I think are interesting to look at when you're considering your essays, because whilst this piece of writing has a central idea in it by the author, there are lots of different arguments within it which you can use to justify the way you think about global citizenship. Because remember, there is no right answer with this. It's really about how do you feel. Then once you've decided how you feel, what you believe, you can start to read around that subject. So here are some Google searches that I've done that may help you to find different perspectives on global citizenship. So here is one that criticises global citizenship, and there's another article by The Atlantic which disagrees with the idea of global citizenship entirely. And then I also looked at the idea of whether global citizenship can save the world, and there's a good video here describing how you can do that. So you can start to look at different resources and fit in the ideas, and if you're able to demonstrate this complex relationship between global citizenship, nationalism, globalisation and identity, then you'll be doing very well.